Hello everyone, I'm Ngozi
And I'm Nnena,
and welcome back to our channel, Ejima. So today we're going to be talking about why it seems as if a lot of modern women are single. You know, this is a topic that's very popular. Everyone's talking about the modern woman, and a lot of times the narrative is there's always reasons behind why the modern woman is single, as if like it's a choice basically. Like she's making this choice based on certain things. So we're going to get into this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let's get into it. First off, do you think it's true? Do you think that the average modern day woman now is single?
Average modern day. I mean, that's such like a broad question. Like, is she a woman in her 20s, a woman in her 30s?
No, modern woman. We went through that in our channel. What is a modern woman?
I know what it is, but I'm just saying. I feel like that's still like such a broad
based
question.
on her age. You're saying,
like, are you saying in our age?
Yeah,
group?
like 20s, 30s. Do you feel as if the average modern woman, based on what people are defining as modern, do you feel as if they find it difficult to enter into meaningful, long-term committed relationships that lead into marriage?
I would say yes and no, because I feel like sometimes the narrative makes it seem like everyone is just single, blah blah blah. But I think a lot of people are choosing to be single. But I don't think for a lot of
Men
women,
and women.
Yeah, maybe both. But I'm speaking more for women. I think a lot of women are kind of choosing to be single, and I know it sounds kind of bizarre because it makes it almost this narrative like nobody wants to be single. It's just like by force. But I definitely feel like some women, like, they're just okay with it. Like,
and men,
yeah, women and men, they want to be single. And there's also a lot of people getting married still, a lot of people in relationships. I think the major difference is that people are doing it later. I would say that's the huge difference versus in our age group. I don't feel weird not being married. You get what I'm saying?
In your late 20s,
Right, in your late 20s, I don't feel weird, but I'm pretty sure in certain parts of the world, by that age, people are already married, almost done having kids.
Or like midlife crisis.
Oh,
if
my God.
If they don't have
like,
that.
I feel like I think about it, of course, because I know what I want. I know by what age I want to be done having kids. Like, you know, if I were to have kids, like, I think about those things, but I wouldn't say that, like, I lose sleep because of those things. No, I definitely don't lose sleep, but it's definitely they're definitely things I think about. I will be lying to make it seem as if like it's something that I don't want or something I don't find important.
I don't think that is a yes and no. I think it's definitely a yes. I think that modern day women are definitely, a lot of them are unpartnered, you know, and I'm not saying it's necessarily their fault, because I know a lot of the narrative is that, you know, they're just doing something wrong. They're just doing too much and they don't want to give the average guy a chance, blah blah blah. And I don't really subscribe to that. I think there are a lot of factors. Like, I know a big one is like, we always go back to upbringing, and people say, some people don't want to admit that they think it's an excuse. And no, like, we talk about how a lot of women are raised, you know, to be independent, and you know, you don't need a man, and all that, and that narrative. And it makes sense that if you raise a generation of women who think that way, they're not going to be as pressed to be partnered, because they feel as if I have my own money, I can pay my own bills, I can fund my own vacations. You know what I mean? Not to say they don't eventually want to be partnered or be with someone, but it's more of maybe just to have children and just say that they're married. But they don't have, a lot of women don't have that desire to really be partnered, as if they feel it, like you said, they don't have that in the West. They don't have that anxiety, like, oh, if I'm not partnered.
The anxiety is there, but I think that people start thinking about it later. That's just the point I would say. I don't want to make it seem like people are in la la land. I definitely feel like the anxiety is there, and I definitely feel like a lot of women want it, but it's not something that we think about early on in our 20s. You know what I mean? I think it's something that we just think is gonna, like, you know, we push it off, like, okay, after my life is together, that's gonna happen.
But do you think education has a lot to do with it? You know, the overly educated modern woman, do you think that that's a factor?
You can't really be overly educated, but I mean,
like, compared to like our parents, like, you know, the average person, like, not the average person, people are getting masters, people are getting PhDs, people are in school longer, right? So when you think about 30, 40 years ago, people just high school diploma was good enough. A lot of people are going back to school, women and men. A lot of people are, you know, extending their education, and they feel as if, you know, partnership or relationships may be a distraction, men and women, you know. So I think that definitely think that has a part to do with it. Some people know how to do both, especially other ethnicities, but I've noticed a common trend, especially like in our community. I feel like a lot of, not just women, even men, they feel as if they're pursuing a higher degree or they're going to school, they feel as if they can't really take somebody seriously. Like, they just have to focus on that one thing, and I feel as if that's not necessarily always the case. I see that, I understand that argument, but I think that is affecting us, and that definitely has to do with why so many people are single, because a lot of other communities, Asian and Caucasian, I feel like they can go to school and pursue a higher degree, and it doesn't stop them from actively, seriously dating. Like they don't look at it like, oh, I'm in school for 3 years, so I only have to be in school and I can't take anyone seriously. Like I don't think they really process it that way, and that's why not a lot of them, but I think that's why their numbers look a little different than ours. Also, do you think that I know we don't like to hear it, but you don't think that a lot of modern women have unrealistic expectations in terms of dating and marriage?
Possibly. Of course, that can always be a factor. I think it's like we want it all. Like, with modern women, you want it all, and you realize that you can have it all, but not all at once. Yeah. And I think that's something that we're not told enough, that like you can have it all eventually, possibly, but at some point you're going to be missing something. Yeah. And I feel like it's like this fear of missing out. Nobody wants to feel like as if like I did this and now I'm sitting at home on Instagram watching the young girls at the parties, or I did this and now I can't travel to Spain every year, or I did this and now I'm trapped. Like nobody wants to feel as if they didn't make
immature, isn't it?
It's not immature. It makes sense because as women we have so many things we have to think about.
That's true, especially when it comes to family.
Right, family, work, balance. It's too much it's too much these days. So I feel as if people want to make sure they have their fun. You get what I'm saying? I always hear people. One of my friends always said, "I'm happy I did these things when I turned," and I was always used to kind of argue with her. I was like, "What things?" Like, I don't feel the way you feel. Like, I don't feel as if these things you're doing are so fun. Like, I could have stopped doing them 5 years ago. You get what I'm saying? I would still be fine. Like, I don't feel as if I feel like even if I wasn't doing these things, I don't feel like I'm missing out.
But that's you know
what I mean? That's just me personally. But I think a lot of women want to make sure that, like, when they get serious or when they settle down and start a family, they don't have any regrets.
That's true.
They don't look back and think.
True. But we're talking about modern women. But I think it goes for both. Like, people feel as if I need to get it all out of my system. Let me get it all out of my system. When, like, our parents' generation, I don't think they really were thinking that way. It's just like, I meet you, I like you. It's more complex than that. But I'm trying to start a family. I'm trying to build a legacy. Let's make it work. But I feel like now, because of the way the world has just changed so much, people have so many options. There's so many things you can do. Social media. Back then, people weren't thinking about the things that people are thinking about now. So it makes sense why people look at partnership. Because we're not even talking about marriage. We're talking about just being single, even just being in regular relationships. Let's be real, there are certain things you can't do in a relationship that you can do when you're, it's a different level of accountability. So it makes sense why people just want to be able to, stay to themselves, do what they want to do when they want to do it, and have their quote-unquote fun. It's not that necessarily some modern women are picky, it's that they may really feel as if they're not seeing the men that they want. They don't want to settle. I know everyone hates that word. Everyone hates it. Everyone hates settling, because technically no one really settles, right? No one really settles. Everyone's going to settle to an extent, because you're not going to ever, your partner, me as a woman, my partner may be settling with me. I may not have the certain things that they wanted, that they desired in a woman, but everything else was fine, and they decided they're going to settle. Exactly. So I feel like we look at the same, these buzzwords, settling and average. We look at these words very negatively. Like, no one wants to be average. Nobody wants to settle. Everyone's looking for, the cream of the crop. That's the idea that a lot of the social media personalities, that's what they're really getting at, is that everybody wants this above average person, which I don't think is necessarily true. I think that people are focused on a subset of people and using to overgeneralize, because I know the girls around me, they're dating very average men, they married average men. I think that's like hype. When people say that, I feel like a lot of men go to a certain group of women, like these IG models, these hot, these girls who are very materialistic, and they use it to judge all women. Like, all women want those. A lot of women do want those men, but it's not that serious. Like, it's not like a do or die thing. So I think that definitely has a factor to it. A lot of women feel as if I can't find what I want, so I'll just rather be by myself.
But not even find. What I could say, what a lot of women tell me, I'm not a therapist or anything, is that they feel like even when they quote unquote lower their standard, whatever that means, they still get disappointed.
That's true.
Like, it doesn't necessarily change the outcome.
That's the assumption.
They don't change the outcome. Like, okay, I like guys that are 6'2", but I dated a guy that's 5'8", he's still cheating on me.
And I think that's the assumption.
Or he doesn't make a lot of money, he's still treating me bad. He's not giving me attention. Like, all these things. So they just feel like, why not wait for my dream man? Yeah. Why not wait for that dream partner when these guys that I'm giving a chance to, that don't even meet a lot of the things that I want, they still are not treating me the way I want to be treated. I think
that's the assumption a lot of people make, is that if you just, and I think that's a lot. Even
if you settle, even
Kevin Samuels, a lot of his rhetoric that I said I don't agree with everything he says. Some things I disagree with him is that they make it seem as like, just settle for the average guy is going to treat you so well. Like, why are you assuming that? Like, a guy could be rich and treat me well, and a guy could be poor and treat me horribly. Like, that's character. Of course, I understand the trend mostly that the guys who are making more they have more options, so they're most likely to be the jerks. Delusional. You know what I mean? I understand that there is a trend, but I don't think it's necessarily, just settle with the average plumber is going to treat you so well. Who told you that? Who assumed you could be? You know what I mean? Who like you're making? Same way you're assuming that because someone is higher earning that they may have the more options. Doesn't mean that they're going to exercise them. You know, they're there and they can always be an option for them, but doesn't mean that that's necessarily what they want. So I think that can be misleading. You know, I think that definitely is a fact, because I know I've personally experienced that. But it's like, you're like, let me just be nice. This person doesn't have what I want, but you know, I'll just stop worrying about these other things, and it's just like they just shock you in other ways. Like, wow, like your behavior is still so poor. So it's like I can't lose in all aspects, and I think that is definitely that's definitely important. But do you think that there also has been like a value shift? Like, do you feel as if people just value different things? Yeah, just in general, relationships.
Of course, we would be lying to ourselves if we didn't put that in as a factor. Like, I feel like people realize that, like, your status is not defined by being married or not. Your happiness is not defined by being married or not, or being in a relationship. People grown up see so much toxic relationships and toxic marriages. A lot of people grew up, their parents are divorced, so they say, why do I need to get married? Look, my parents are divorced, you know what I mean?
They have toxic marriages.
You know what I mean? They have parents that are roommates. So a lot of this stuff, whether we want to, it's going to rub off on us. You grow up, you see a single mother doing everything. Are men really necessary? Right. You know what I mean? Are they going to leave you anyway? You know, you just are they reliable? You know, so you just grow. This society, of course, I'm even shocked when I hear about as many people that want to get married as they do.
I'm happy.
Right, because I love the institution of marriage. I feel like it's so beautiful, you know, but I definitely feel as if nowadays marriage is people always bring up divorce rates are high, and I'm just like, I just feel like the statistics about divorce, I get it, but at the same time, there's so many married people who are not divorced but are still not happy. Yeah. So you're not counting them in your statistics, but is their marriage good?
No, being married, that you're going to be single, that is necessarily going to be that you're basically they're assuming that because they don't get married, their life is going to be better. That's what you're saying. The people who bring up the divorce rates, that they're assuming that if I just stay by myself, I'm going to be better off, which is not necessarily true, because you can still be undivorced but still not be happy. You know what I mean? You can still be unmarried and still be unhappy. So, you know, I guess I understand when people bring those things up. They're speaking out of fear. That's to be real. A lot of and it's logical. It makes sense. It's not random. It's not weird. It's not, oh my gosh, where is this coming from? It's rational fear. They're speaking from fear, and they're using these negative, because like you said, numbers don't lie, but you can find numbers to defend anything. That's just a reality. People don't want to be real. Like, you can find any number. I could have any ideology, and I'll go and find the numbers on some site. It is Wikipedia, some weird site, and I can find numbers to defend my argument. So if you basically, it's like you look at the glass half empty, half full. If you want to be positive, you're going to be positive. If you want to be negative, you're going to be negative. You're not necessarily wrong, because you're just deciding to look at the positives versus you looking at the negatives. The same way someone could look at the negatives of marriage, there's so many positives of it, or just being in a relationship, period. But if you decide to dwell in the negative, then you know you're just going to find every negative. You're going to find every negative thing to defend your point and make it seem as if your point makes sense. But let us know. We don't want to make this video too long. Let us know how you feel about this video. Why are so many modern women single? Is
beautiful modern women
gorgeous? You think it's
definitely. Did we talk about like the fact that they can take care of themselves?
That was our first. I think that was our first point about the upbringing, the system now that women are independent and how they're raised. Take care of yourself. You don't need a man. Let's be like we talk about other parts of the world. I know a lot of guys will comment about going overseas, and that's cool. That's fine. Even women are doing it. It's not even a gender thing. But I do understand a lot of men's philosophy with that. But I've tried to respond to some people that a lot of men are able to do that in other countries because women survive. Marriage is survival.
Exactly.
It's like it's legit. The way they view marriage is like money. People are starving. Like their families are relying on their husband to take care of them. They're relying on their husband's money. Like I know my uncles have like people go in for family. Like it's like in those countries, like your husband is like he's your net worth. Like he's like your savior. And I honestly think there's anything bad with that. But you understand that you can't be mad at American women or Western women because we're in a society where we don't have to rely on a man 100%. And when we even want to rely on a man 100%, we're termed gold digger. We're termed useless. We're termed lazy. Especially black women. We're always, when we want to rely on a man 100%, we can't win. When you want to rely on a man 100%, even your family members will look at you like you're crazy. You know what I mean? So I understand that rationale, but like we said, you can't negate the fact, you can't negate that we're in a Western world and that things just work differently. The woman, and there's still women who want a man to buy them all these things, but there's a lot of women who work and can buy it for themselves. So of course they're not going to, that doesn't mean that they still don't desire companionship, but it's not going to be on that same level. It's not going to be on that same, the hunger is not going to be as, it's not going to be as real, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but like we have to compare. We can't compare apples and oranges. We have to compare, the same thing. But let us know how you feel about this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.